Oh, we are live. Welcome to Tuesday, everybody. It's the Plant-Based Business Hour, and I'm Elysabeth Alfano. Thanks for joining me every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. right here live. So I started this show about 2 months ago because I was concerned that people weren't making the connection between eating meat and meat-borne pandemics. Of course, coronavirus is not our first meat-borne pandemic. Ebola, Asian bird flu, swine fever, mad cow disease, the list goes on. According to the CDC, 75% of all pandemics come from meat-borne zoonotic diseases. So if we want a safe and secure future, we need a safe and secure food supply. That's plant-based foods. So I wanted to create a show where investors and consumers could find small plant-based businesses, because plant-based business isn't just the solution, it's also big money. So we're going to need more than Impossible Foods, and we're going to need more than Beyond Meat. And so on this show, I feature the CEOs and analysts and small businesses that are all shaping our safe and secure future with food from plants. Okay, so that's my take on the world, but maybe I'm not alone. Let me read you some stats. I get this information from the Good Food Institute's most recent industry report, State of the Industry for Meat, Eggs, and Dairy, and I thank them for this. According to the research firm NPD, it reports that the U.S. quick-serve restaurant channel served up plant-based burgers 228 million times in the 52-week period ending at the end of May 2019, so we don't even have current stats yet. That's up 10% from 2018, giving plant-based burgers a 3.5% market share in the quick-serve restaurant arena in the United States. And that's not even up to date. Plant-based terminology on menus has increased 2,462% in 4 years, growing 328% in 2019. That comes from Data Essential Menu Trends. And plant-based dishes saw a 25% increase in orders on Grubhub in the first half of 2019. Grubhub also reported that vegetarian and vegan-friendly dishes took over 7 of the top 10 spots. So maybe I'm not alone. And as we talk about the increase of burgers in quick-serve restaurants, I want to take everybody on the Plant-Based Business Hour to the vegan capital of the world. Oh, we are headed to London town to talk to the founders of the fast food vegan restaurant chain, the Vurger Company, Rachel, Hugh, and Neil Potts. Thanks for being with me.
Hello, thank you so much for having us.
I'm so glad that you're here. I want to get into your story and all that you have to say and all the trials and tribulations of running a restaurant. Even if it is the most popular vegan capital of the world, it's still tricky during COVID times. So I want to get into it all. But for a lot of viewers on this show, they're watching from the United States. So just break down for us a little bit. When we hear about London over here, we hear that it is very mainstream to be vegan, that 1 out of every 4 meals is vegan. I get that stat from the Meatless Farm Company. And then, of course, Happy Cow says you are the city that has the most vegan restaurants. Is it all as mainstream as that?
Do you know what? I definitely think it has completely exploded here in London. Wow. We began this journey in 2016, and it was a completely different landscape, totally. I think the number of restaurants has exploded, the number of street food vendors have exploded exponentially, and we've just seen, and the innovative products, as you mentioned, have just gone from almost zero to what you see today. And to see that landscape change just in the space of 4 years as it has now is phenomenal. And to have been a part of that journey is mind-blowing. It is what they say. It has been as big as they say, definitely.
Well, because I feel things changing here in the United States, most definitely, but we are not that. I would not call it yet mainstream. Certainly coronavirus has, upgraded how people are viewing, downgraded how people are viewing meat, upgraded how people are viewing a vegan diet. So it's accelerating, but I wouldn't say that we are mainstream yet. I'm wondering, from the London perspective, do you feel like there's almost too much competition now in the vegan area?
I think it can be, yeah. I think it sort of was heading that way. I think you're getting new stuff coming out all the time. There's, a vegan version of everything pretty much, especially in the street food space. And we have lots of, cool places where smaller brands can go in with a much lower overhead and open up almost like a pop-up really quickly. We have lots of those types of buildings around, which really make it easy for small businesses to create something new. So yeah, it's definitely getting more competitive. There's a bigger emphasis every day on your brand and what that means and how you stand out. And yeah, for sure, it's heating up for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And are you seeing vegan businesses go under, or is it sustainable for all?
You do. I think, people do come and go. There are, there's probably, 10 or 15 really quite steady ones, which are always kind of there and growing. There are those new ones that come and they go 6 months later, but I think in general, we're still on that upward curve. We're not really seeing like a collapse in the vegan space here yet. I think, comparing it to the US, we've spent a bit of time obviously in LA and New York and places like that. And I think maybe 4 years ago, those places were ahead, especially in LA. And in some ways, there are better restaurants in LA. I think it's a weird comparison, but I think we're definitely still on an upward trend here for sure.
Well, let's talk about a little bit between the comparison of Los Angeles and London, because you guys kind of have your start in LA, even though, of course, you're obviously both Brits and your business is in London. But tell us about your story, why you started the Vurger Company. And I think you have to give a shout out to LA there.
We do.
For sure.
We do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think we both had this big birthday impending, and we had very different careers before we did this. And we were kind of feeling a little bit at odds with what we were doing. And we just took this big birthday celebration to California. And we took a big 2-week road trip, and we didn't intend on eating vegan the whole time. We weren't vegan before this journey. So it was a huge, massive change for us. And Neil was suffering really badly with his stomach issues at the time. So during the trip, we were eating vegan. We were feeling better than ever. We had access to amazing vegan food that in London you couldn't get access to as easily back in 2016. So it was through the combination of traveling, having that access, eating delicious food, feeling better than ever, and then coming back to London and realizing, oh my gosh, we feel so awesome.
Yeah.
And then it was doing the research into veganism and what that meant for us personally. You started feeling better than ever eating that way. And it was that culmination all together that we realized, oh my gosh, now that we're vegan, where do we eat? We do that classic thing of, what do we do now? Do we just eat beans? What is this? So we went really hard into researching what we can eat. And it was through that journey that we thought to ourselves, okay, we really miss having that burger experience, just walking into a burger place and just knowing that you can just eat the whole menu. But now we couldn't. There was nowhere in 2016 that we could access a good burger place. And of course, Beyond wasn't here in the UK. There's no Impossible Burger. It just didn't exist here. And it was a really difficult time for us. So we thought, this is it. We're going to do this. We're going to create that awesome vegan burger place that anybody can come and access.
Yeah, I think that was the key, wasn't it? It wasn't just to create another vegan burger place. It was to create something that for the first time here, at least at the time, was something really mainstream, something that not just vegans would enjoy, but everybody else could enjoy and come and, basically miss nothing. And obviously not being vegan before, that was a huge thing for us. We wanted to create something that everybody could get excited about.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of surprised to hear that in 2016, there weren't really vegan fast food places. Or I guess you're saying that there are, but they didn't cover the market like you envisioned.
I think it was more so that you could access them maybe one day a week in a market store, for example.
I see.
So on a Saturday, you could go there and have that cool vegan burger place. And that's the one day a week you could go there. But apart from that, there wasn't really. It was more cafes.
It was a more traditional kind of setup, wasn't it? We've always had vegan restaurants in London, but they didn't change much from the 70s to early 2016. And I think it's really sort of mid to late 2016 where things really started gathering some pace. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you've sort of blown the rest of the world away from 2017 onwards. Let's say London has really become the capital of veganism around the world in so many ways. I mean, you guys are a smaller chain. We're going to get to how you're opening your third restaurant, post-COVID, let's say. But you're smaller, but places like Tesco, of course, which is the
Right.
big chain I believe it's all throughout the UK. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's huge, yeah.
So, you're talking about vegan items distributed all across the UK, which is really just so brilliant. So let's talk about that. You're about to, in theory, we don't know how COVID's 100% going to shake out, but in theory, you're opening in Brighton. This would be your third place after Shoreditch, where I'm not actually sure where that is, and then Canary Wharf, which I do know.
That's right.
So hats off to you. I mean, I can't think of a more difficult industry than the restaurant business. And I have to say, if there was a job that I didn't want to do the most in my life, it would be drive a taxi, and then it would be own a restaurant, because they're such incredibly difficult businesses. So take us through your growth pattern from 2016 to 2020 that allows you to open a third restaurant and kind of live to tell.
Yeah.
Wow, those 4? I don't think I can put those 4 years into like a little snapshot, but I'll do my best.
Yes.
We definitely. So when we began, we were just a market stall, and we did that because it was the quickest, easiest way to get out there and get some great feedback from our customers. We then moved into pop-up restaurants, and that was when we really started to build our community. And we didn't realize how important that would be at the time, but it's been everything to our growth from that point until now. We had people on social media following us, wanting to see, where's the next pop-up? Where can I find you next? And at the time, we were working in our previous jobs full time. So we would Monday to Saturday work, we would create our burgers on a Saturday, we would sell them on a Sunday and do it all again. And that was probably the hardest point that we have gone through. But we got through that. And what really got us through was our community and the people who kind of followed us along that path together. And from there, we came to LA. We did an amazing festival called Eat, Drink, Vegan in LA in, what year was that? 2018.
I was there.
And we teamed up with Chloe Coscarelli, which was incredible. She's a real force in this industry, and we were so proud to work with her. And from there, we opened our first restaurant. So Shoreditch opened in East London in 2018, in March. And then we opened Canary Wharf, our second restaurant, in quick succession in November of that exact same year. So there were barely 6 to 7 months between the two restaurants opening, which was crazy journey.
Yeah, I think it wasn't kind of planned that way. No. I think I'm sure other big cities are the same around the world, but London's a bit crazy when it comes to commercial property. You can have a loose plan, but ultimately you never quite find the properties you want to find in the right order. So Canary Wharf actually came to us a few months after we opened in Shoreditch, and we're like, we're doing this new setup in one of the old retail units. I think it was a Banana Republic or something. It was like a huge 5,000 square foot unit that they had, and they were turning it into a really cool food court. And they wanted us there, and we kind of thought, okay, well, we're not 100% ready, but at the same time, we don't want to miss the opportunity. So, we sort of dived into that one, didn't we?
It's a really good point, actually. When we began, it was really hard to convince a landlord in London to allow a vegan restaurant to open in their premises. It was virtually unheard of. Really, and it was a real tough sell. We had to do tastings, and we had to speak to landlords and big institutional landlords, and we had to go up the chain to explain ourselves and to convince people veganism is the way forward, guys. You really need to believe in us. So Shoreditch was a huge move for us and also the landlord here. So that was a big thing, and for London also. And that's why when Canary Wharf came along, considering they were such a huge landlord, it was an opportunity that we thought, this is massive. We can't not kind of take this. And then that's from 2018 until now, we've just kind of been, as you mentioned, the restaurant industry is tough. Every day a new challenge comes along, whether that's the weather today or whether that's, an event happening down the road and it's completely obliterated your daily sales. Whatever it is, every day is different. And I think it took us a little bit of time to get into the swing of things and really kind of learn who we are in this marketplace and what we want to kind of present to the world as well. And we kind of built our brand along the way. And again, I can't stress it enough. It's down to our community that we've even been able to open a third restaurant. Their excitement and their joy for what we're able to do has led us to being able to open that Brighton site.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we're blessed with a fairly decent sized sort of following and a customer base, which is is helpful because they help to steer you in different directions. There's so many different places we could have opened.
Yeah.
But the number of times we get asked by people in Brighton, when are you going to open here? When are you going to open here? And it kind of, it steers you in the right direction. I think it's easy to listen to people. We have lots of people.
Yeah.
Well, so you've hit on a couple of things that I think are so important here. The fact that you're working full-time jobs when you're opening the restaurant and making the food. So we'll get into that as well. Because I wasn't quite sure. It was one of the questions I had for you is if you make your own burgers or if you had, Beyond or something similar, but you don't. You make your own burgers. So we'll get into that. Yeah. And then the relationship that you have with your landlord. I think that is often something that businesses overlook, and it comes to bite them 5 years down the road when they're very successful and the landlord raises the rent, or they have no control over that process, or they're forced to move because it's been sold. Or one of the things I did in my business early on, which was not a restaurant, but I made sure that I saved all my pennies to buy the real estate. And then I could take my time on the rest of it and figure out my mistakes because ultimately I controlled my own destiny and I didn't have to pay rent in the beginning. Yeah. So that relationship with the landlord, I think, is so important. But also, let's talk about some of the other trials and tribulations of just owning a restaurant. So you make your own food. So I guess then you don't. Your supplier relationships are still important because you're making the food, but ultimately you are the ones doing it. So maybe that's not as important for you.
For sure. I think when we began, as I mentioned, there wasn't the access to the amazing products such as Beyond or Impossible or any one of those amazing products, the innovative products from today. And we really wanted to create this company where we could stand behind every single product that we created and say, do you know what? I know where that's made. I know every single ingredient that's gone into it. I know the backstory behind it. And I can tell you exactly who made that product. So I think we really wanted to kind of build this end-to-end transparency between us as a brand and our customers, so that when they came to us, I could just say, yeah, I know all of those answers. And I think that's, again, what's helped us build that trust between us and our customers as well. And that's what's helped create that loyalty. So it's all come back and helped us in the end, but it wasn't in the beginning. It just came from that basic need to just want to produce good food and do it in-house. But I must say, we do stock the Beyond Burger today also, because it is a fantastic product. So it's good a bit move. Of both today. Yeah.
Good move. But now neither of you were chefs when you started this. So you knew the food that you wanted, but you don't have culinary backgrounds. Is that right?
No, you're absolutely right.
We know food very well. We're very good at eating food. But no, we weren't especially good at making food. I mean, we were pretty passionate home cooks, but we weren't complete novices from that perspective. But certainly from creating a restaurant menu, for sure, we were fairly beginner. But we learned a lot. We put together things that we enjoyed for a start. That was our kind of market stall testing phase. And we evolved a lot. We changed things. We tweaked things. We added flavors. We took flavors away. We added texture. Those things are quite easy when it comes to vegan burgers to kind of play around with. You don't have to know a great deal about food to kind of mess around with those things. But then obviously when we started to move towards it being a restaurant and something a bit more permanent, we did work with people who are far more capable than us. And we're very good at communicating, what we want and the flavors that we think work and concepts that we think would work. Rachel's, basically does the whole social media herself still. So she is constantly in touch with customers and knows exactly what works and what isn't working so much. So from that perspective, we sort of, I suppose, steer the ship when it comes to the menu. And we just have fantastic chefs working for us now. Who basically pull it all together and create everything. So it's fun.
I think it's worth mentioning that, of course, you did start out with burgers and fries and shakes in mind. I love this photo because I really want everything so badly as I see it. And I'm seeing a lot of these burgers are double decker. Is that right?
We do also double
we
deckers.
Do. You can add a second patty on top to make it extra delicious.
I like the way you roll. Okay, but let's say that it's not just burgers, fries, and shakes. So you have expanded the menu, and I did go on the vurgercompany.com to see the menu in full, but of course, COVID-19, and we'll talk about that in a while, you're shut right now for business. So I couldn't find the exact menu, but I see from this photo that you are branching out to things beyond burgers, yes?
You are right. We noticed that we wanted to create this buzz around our brand. We wanted people to keep coming back to us. And we realized the only way that they would come back to us is through the menu and the product that we put out. And we pride ourselves on the innovative products that we add to the menu. So we're constantly working on monthly specials. So we're always working at least 4 months in advance. So we have our photography done, we have the training for our team, and it's just a constant rolling kind of learning curve for us as well. But it's definitely, we always have one special at the very least on our menu at any one time. And sometimes they're specific to the restaurant. So sometimes there'll be just Canary Wharf specials, or sometimes just Shoreditch specials. So we tend to work it to the audience as well. Definitely.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we kind of thought was that, although we pride ourselves on everything being, good quality ingredients and everything, we know how everything is made. Ultimately, they're still burgers, so we know you can't eat that every day. So we've introduced things like salads as well. Well, yeah, you can try, but
I have tried it before.
So we are sort of introducing more things. We introduced a few salads earlier this year, and just trying to make it a bit more friendly to everybody at any time. Every other day, if you want to come, you can come and find something that is going to be a balanced meal for you. Yeah.
Well, it seems like one of the reasons for your success is that you're so focused on the customer and what the customer wants. And I was very impressed. I'm sorry if my eyes aren't looking at you. I'm running a studio back here with all the comments and banners. Here's a new banner, everybody. I see that you're very focused on the consumer right down to the very last item. And that includes things like plastic forks, plastic cups, which you don't have. So your attention to detail, to really being a sustainable business, seems to be in answer to and to educate for the customer. So to bring them along in terms of the whole sustainability mission. And I'm wondering if they appreciate that. Do they like the fact that all of your utensils are compostable?
Oh, absolutely. It's been something that's been intrinsic to our whole business from the very beginning.
From the first market stall.
From the first market stall, we had compostable burger boxes. We went the extra mile to make sure there was no plastic on our market stall. And that was back in 2016. And it was so hard, I can't tell you, to get hold of good compostable burger boxes. We searched far and wide. I think we ended up getting it from the US in the end. And in that very, very beginning. And it did take a little while for London to catch up. So it was from a really honest, authentic place that we wanted to bring this as part of our business plan from the very, very, very beginning. And then when our customers saw that, these guys don't just care about the food and where it comes from, they also care about what it actually goes in and how it's delivered to me. And I think that whole picture made people realize, this is a really nice brand. I really believe in what their mission is, I guess.
Yeah, I think in the last 2 years as well, there's been a huge that kind of movement has accelerated a lot in the UK. Anti-plastic, anti-plastic straws, all the big brands now are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But of course, then when they do it, they have the dollars to kind of throw at the PR that they kind of appear to be the ones that led the way. But I'm afraid it was the smaller brands 2 years earlier that were doing it. But it's good. It brings it into the public consciousness more. I think people, if they take 10 minutes just to read about plastic and, obviously it's a useful material in some capacities, but for disposable items, it's tragic. It's destroying the planet pretty much. So we work very hard to avoid. We're a restaurant ultimately, so we have some impact, more than the average person. But we do everything we can to reduce that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it already really has destroyed the oceans. You don't need to look too far into your research to see that. Exactly. I'll throw out National Geographic reporter, photographer Paul Nicklin. He talks a lot about this if you want to research more about just how plastics, and that's bags and utensils and cups and straws, have, of course, damaged our oceans. But it does seem that catering to your customer base really has been a strong point of your success. Vegconomist magazine recently did an article about 10 influencers' top favorite vegan brands. And you came in like 4 of the top 10 influencers were talking about the Vurger Company. I mean, you're right that you've captured that passion for your customer base, which is is so great. So how's your customer base doing, and London in general, and you guys during COVID? It seems that you have reinvented yourself a little bit, which I think is so amazing. Tell me how you guys are handling COVID, and are your customers still supporting you, and what you're doing there?
Yeah.
We definitely had to pivot for sure. The moment that we had to close the restaurants, well, let me take you back. Many of our staff members actually have to travel through the underground to actually to get to here. So there was no way that we could stay open, even for takeout during this process. It would have been unfair, unsafe, and it was very much a decision from the very beginning. Okay, we have to close during this time. So when that decision was made, we still had our customers who still wanted to access us, who were still sending us messages, and they still wanted to kind of have us in any way that they could. And it was through that kind of influx of messaging that we realized, okay, we really have to do something here. And we thought, well, we took a step back and we thought, well, what would we want if we were sitting at home but we couldn't access our favorite burger place? Well, I'd want to make it at home. Yeah. So we kind of thought to ourselves, let's put all of the elements that make up one of our best-selling burgers, the New York Melt, and package it up and send it to people's homes. So we kind of we took the photo ourselves and we kind of put it together really quickly, and we literally made our website transactional overnight. It wasn't transactional before, so that was a huge undertaking for a restaurant also. And we then packaged it up, we put it on our social media and say, hey guys, do you kind of want this? And people were like, yes, we really do. Wow. So we delivered them all ourselves, personally. Literally, Neil would be in the van, I would be in the car, we're driving it around London, and we just kept having more and more requests from outside London and the UK in general. So we've literally today launched a nationwide service. So we're now delivering these packs to the whole of the UK, which is phenomenal. We're now reaching people far and wider than our restaurant ever could. So I think just to give you some context as well, we have, I think you guys maybe have something similar, although it's administered in a different way, but we have a furlough scheme here in the UK, which the government has put in place to help businesses, and basically essentially means that they're paying 80% of the wages of, well, millions of employees at the moment in the country. So our whole team, except Rachel and I, are at home. They're all kind of safe and well at home, and we've literally done everything ourselves. So if you've ordered one of those in the last few weeks, it's been created, packaged, boxed, delivered by Rachel and myself. Yeah. So, in a journey.
Yes, and also to say that everyone that works for you is furloughed, but probably not you. Are you also getting support from the government, or no? It's directly basically these big New York melts that you make at home. Everybody can see the picture here. So literally in the bag on the left of your screen, you see the Vurger Co. And basically all the fixings for the burger that you want are right there, and you get to make it at home. It's ingenious, I'll say, very ingenious. But this really definitely goes to supporting the two of you, and it keeps the restaurants, afloat during these strange times, but also directly the two of you who aren't getting that government support.
Yeah, I think exactly. It obviously is a big help for us. I think the main thing is keeping in people's minds. I think whenever restaurants are able to get going again, there'll be a huge rush. Well, I hope there'll be a huge rush for people going out and trying to find all these things that they haven't had for 3 months. So we just want to kind of, stay in people's minds. And I think this is helping us achieve that. So yeah.
And when do you think you will be back up and running?
It's complicated.
It is complicated because the government is still supporting our teams to be at home, but we obviously want to transition to reopening the business. We are taking the steps to kind of bring back the takeout side of our business, but of course we have to do the kind of the back work to make sure that this place is, we're actually in the restaurant now, so that this place is safe for the teams to come back, and also they can travel to work safely also. So we're just looking into that and making sure that all of those steps are in place, and then we can kind of announce when it will reopen again. But I think for now, our main focus is on these meal kits and making sure that people can access us in that way, or at least, until we are able to reopen.
And of course, on all your social medias, the Vurger Co, be it LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or what have you, you're going to let everybody know, which is so great.
Yes.
Okay, so that leads me to my next question, which is, nobody saw COVID coming except all of the vegans around the world and all the researchers and all the scientists.
Right.
But otherwise, nobody saw COVID-19 coming. So, as a business owner of any kind, not just in restaurants, you always have to be pivoting. What, besides COVID, what would be the next trickiest spot you have found in opening a restaurant chain?
I think for anyone really, I mean, unless you have, tons of cash you can put your hands on quickly, then it's very difficult. People, even us, we didn't realize, if you told us 5 years ago how much it actually costs to open a restaurant, it is hundreds of thousands of pounds. And that's just the reality. You can do it more cheaply than that, but it's, you just won't have the same effect. I think for us, it's always been a capital challenge. It gets a bit easier, obviously, as you kind of progress and as things develop, it gets easier to put capital together. But certainly in the beginning, not only was it a vegan restaurant, as Rachel was saying in the beginning, and talking to landlords, that was difficult. But also, there's no chance of getting money from a bank. Right. There was no chance of, we had some savings, but I stress, a really kind of moderate amount. So it was nowhere near enough to do what we needed. So we actually went to crowdfunding. So in 2017, we raised all the money we needed to open, our first shop and probably half of our second. We raised it pretty quickly, actually. It was awesome. Things like that are fantastic.
So you bring up some good points here that we have talked about on this show before. For vegan businesses, it's very hard. You were talking about earlier in the show that your landlords weren't even sure they wanted to rent to you, because there's usually a kickback to some of the sales, sometimes depending on your contract, to the landlord. And they weren't sure that a vegan business, how wrong they were. They weren't sure that a vegan business was going to fly. So there's that. And then the same thing is true with the banks. You often, as a vegan business, can't get a loan. That's why I know Claire Smith is working on this, to make sure that more vegan businesses can get loans, because it's, another problem in the supply chain of running a vegan business that can come your way. So I appreciate your tenacity for staying with it. And I'm so glad that you've enjoyed the growth. You're about to open your third restaurant. So kudos for you, and kudos for being very imaginative, not just with the, burger packs where you can make your own burger at home during COVID times. But I also saw on your website that you are potentially manufacturing for other entities. Is this right? Other restaurants? Tell me a little bit about that.
That's right. So as part of what I mentioned in the beginning, where we make everything within our own kind of unit, we have our own production facility. So we realized in the very beginning that to make a restaurant even work, you can't have these 4,000, 5,000 square foot restaurants anymore. It just doesn't work anymore. So we wanted to keep our units as small as possible, but then have our central production unit, or commissary, or whatever you guys call it. And it was very important to us that not only everything was made in-house, but if we had some spare time or some spare manpower, we were able to put that to work. So we realized, well, hey, when we started out, we were struggling. We couldn't access anybody who could help us make our food, or could help us create something from scratch, or even had the skills or ability or manpower to make that happen. So we thought, well, hey, why don't we reach out to some small businesses and see if they need that help, and we can be those people who can help them. So we help vegan restaurants, but we also help some non-vegan restaurants create vegan products, and we deliver to them also, which is pretty awesome. So we found a whole new other section of our business to kind of grow and develop as well, which is very exciting.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned this. I think this is really a key tip to being successful. You have to find many revenue streams, and you can't really just rely on the one, because as we know from COVID, your revenue stream from one day to the next can just disappear for illogical reasons. Yeah. So it's very important to always have like a plan B and C kind of running and working those businesses as you would. I also do consulting for restaurants, and I help them veganize their menus. And I also work with meat companies, because I feel as you do, I just want to help everyone shift. And that's why I do this show. It's going to take a village, and it can't just be Beyond Meat and Impossible. We all have to hop in. And that means, working with people I didn't ever think I would work with before. And then I realized, well, actually, if I want them to come along on the journey, I'm going to have to help them. So
exactly. Yes. And many of these businesses don't necessarily know where to start. Okay, they've heard of the huge companies, but maybe they don't necessarily want to bring that into their menu. It doesn't make sense for them. So that's where kind of people like us come in, and we can say, well, hey, this works for us. How about trying this? And I think that's where we've definitely found that connection between being a vegan business and then helping, as you mentioned, non-vegan companies. And it's definitely helped me make that connection.
Yeah, I think that's really such a big part of it. And I didn't realize that initially when I started, but I want to say hats off to the non-vegan businesses that are getting the message. They see the solution. They see that it's possible to still be tasty because of the great things that you do. And then they see that this is the future. They're business people after all, and they get it. That's one of the reasons I do this show. Plant-based foods aren't just the big solution. They're also big money. And so I'm happy that they're getting the message, and whatever reason they want to get into it is fine by me, just as long as they get into it, and I'm happy to help them. So I'm no disparaging words for me for those businesses that want to come in. I'm grateful that they're seeing that. Well, okay, so this sort of leads us to all the other folks out there who are thinking, oh, they want to start a vegan business. I'll say in particular here, perhaps a vegan restaurant of any kind, upscale or lower scale. What are the top 3 tips that you would give to anyone starting a vegan restaurant?
Okay, I would start with know your customer. Inside and out. You need to know what makes them tick, who they are, why they want to come to you, what product are you going to sell to these people, what makes them want to tune into your social media over and above someone else's. So just the top thing for us from the very beginning has been getting to know our customer inside and out, responding to them, listening to them, answering. If something wasn't good, they'll let you know within 2 minutes. So just being open to listening to that feedback and growing from it. So that's definitely number 1.
I think not getting too stressed out. I think it's I'm still learning this, but I mean, I think you kind of, if you're coming into this industry, whether you know it well or not, it's difficult. It just is. There's no, you can make a great restaurant and you can have really smooth operations, but stuff still goes wrong, like almost every day. You almost just have to expect that and just learn to kind of roll with the punches a little bit, because there's great days, but there's challenging days as well. And I think that's important as well. I'm still figuring that one out, but Rachel's helping me.
And then I would think maybe this is a bit more general, but it definitely applies to if you're looking to open a restaurant or vegan restaurant or whatever. I think it's very important to just be relentlessly positive, because following on from Neil's message, there are so many challenges every single day. And if you don't bring that kind of that positivity and just relentless energy to your team, to the people who are looking to you for answers every single day, to help your suppliers, the landlord relationships that you need. All of these things play a huge part on your mental well-being as well every day. So you just have to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and just bring in your best energy and your best self every single day. I think that's been the biggest learning curve for us as well, definitely.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I actually say that a vegan diet really helps you do that. So for those of you who, are thinking about being flexitarian or putting your toe in, or this is the time that you start to work in more veggies, you're going to see that a vegan diet actually helps you, I find, with the mental component of it. When you shift your purchasing power to align with your values, you get this added boost of not just maybe shedding some pounds, depending on how you do it, but some more energy. That was a boost that I saw. But you also, realized I was carrying around this weight that I didn't know I was carrying by not aligning my purchasing power with my values. Because it's never worked for me to be unkind to animals. I don't think it really works for most people. And when I lifted that, And I didn't expect I would get this extra boost that, oh gosh, I don't have to carry this negative weight around. So I think a vegan diet actually does help you stay very positive about things.
I couldn't agree more, yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah, that's great to hear that. Okay, so I think you're going to say, well, a plant-based world, obviously. But beyond a plant-based world, what are your predictions for the future? And I'll say 3 to 5 years out. Where do you think we're going?
I think we're continuing to accelerate. I mean, I can only really speak in detail about London, but there's still so much growth. There's a lot of vegan food is still either in street food or in this kind of hybrid between street food and pop-ups. There's still so much growth. If you look at permanent restaurants, bricks and mortar restaurants, there's not a huge number. And I think there's still so much growth. There's so many new things happening all the time. And it's not just London, to be honest. A lot of the UK now is really kind of accelerating in this space. Cities like Brighton, obviously, have historically always been very vegan friendly. But even, a lot of the other big cities as well now are really kind of growing really fast. And yeah, I think for me, I think I would expect to see most of the cities in the UK having a decent sized vegan presence. And I think we'd obviously love to be part of that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No, please go ahead.
No, I was just going to say the innovation surrounding products in the future also,
so
just keeping ahead of that curve and keeping on top of what's going on and making sure that we as a business are also keeping on top of that innovation also, because as we mentioned throughout this whole conversation, there's a new company and something new happening every single day. Every time I go on LinkedIn, there's a brand new product that's just being launched. So I think it's just keeping on top of what's happening in that kind of space as well.
I think this is one of the very exciting things about this business arena. There's no improving meat and dairy. The thing is what it is.
Right.
We are all about every day it tastes better. The innovation grows every day. It is an expanding, just, blowing the top off the house kind of progress for many reasons. We have to, if we're going to survive as a planet. We haven't even talked about this. We talked about your sustainable cutlery, et cetera, as it's all compostable. But, when I'm just using a study from Penn State University of Michigan, it was about a Beyond Meat burger, but give or take, most plant-based burgers are going to be the same. You save 99% on water, 93% on land, 90% on greenhouse gas emissions, and 40% on energy. So you look at the savings of those resources, that has to appeal to any business person who doesn't want to waste the expensive resources. What could be more expensive than the planet than you live on? So, this is where we're going from a future perspective. But meat and dairy, there's like no improvement to be made there. Whereas we are all about making things better, more efficient, tastier, 100%. More convenient, and bringing down the price every day. I say the royal we, but I mean you guys and all the vegan businesses. But I'll give Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
No, you.
Yeah, most people are realizing that, especially with what's going on at the moment. I think more and more people are making the connection between, they're realizing that we're all connected. Everything we eat is connected. Everything we do is connected. Every country is connected. And this current situation just proves that, and I think, we don't have 100% scientific proof and confirmation of where this came from, but I think the signs are there that it came ultimately from the meat industry. And I think, that's got to ring true with everybody. I think people will realize, what's going on there is not good for us.
Yes, I'd just like to add to that. So, there are 7 billion people on the planet, approximately. We slaughter 70 to 80 billion animals a year. So that means the living beings on the planet are about 77 billion. Only 10% of them are social distancing. The other 90% are forced into cramped conditions, literally nose to nose, beak to beak, because we have made them do this. So with the 90% of the planet not social distancing, I think it's going to be very hard to outrun any pandemic. And there's nothing that says you can only have one pandemic at a time. You could, in fact, have 3, because we have 3 right now: Asian bird flu, African swine fever, both raging through China, and coronavirus. So I think a lot of people are starting to question, is meat healthy for them? Not just because it gives them diabetes and cardiac arrest, potentially, but also also because meat is the source of meat-borne pandemics. So, lots of changes to be made for a safer and more secure future.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so may I ask your ages? Maybe I won't phrase the question this way. You guys are in your 30s, is this right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Give or take? So usually I ask the question, what do you wish you knew 10 years ago that you know now? But for you guys, you can say, what do you wish you knew 5 years ago? That'll work too.
Yeah.
Okay, you go for it.
I think for me, well, it's almost 5 years to be fair, but I wish I was vegan 5 years ago. I think for me, as you say, really, I think most people would say the same thing. I've always thought that I cared about animals. For some reason, I never used to make the connection between caring about animals and what I'm eating. It sounds ridiculous now, but it's true. I think a lot of people are the same. You know, if you saw a fluffy bunny on the street, you'd think, oh, that's really cute, and isn't it sad that somebody's going to hurt that bunny? But then you're happy to go and eat a steak. And I think I was very much in that camp. So for me, I think I wish I'd known then what I know now, and I think I'd be even healthier for it, both in mind and body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely, I couldn't agree more. Honestly, we have this conversation quite a lot, and it's something that I have. My sister has 2 little girls. Yeah. And just to inspire them with the way that we eat, and when they spend time with us, and just showcasing to them, do you know what, you can have that, but you can have it vegan. I'm like the crazy auntie that really wants them to be vegan. Yeah. So it's a big thing for us to kind of to be that way today, and to showcase the better way of eating. Yeah. And I think if I had known that 5 years ago, or I had opened up my mind to being that way 5 years ago, I could have made so many more positive changes earlier. So I think the more that I can do to inspire the next generation as well, that's kind of what I'm passionate about now. So, yeah.
And I just want to show everybody, when crazy auntie over there does try to get everybody to eat vegan, this is what eating vegan looks like. Yeah. So, sign me up. Hard to argue with that. I'll say for myself, what I wish I knew 10 years ago. I do say this a lot on the show. I wish I knew how much I have to advocate for myself. I can't wait for doctors to tell me one thing or governments to tell me another thing. I really have to go out there and do the research. And, Google is both a positive and a negative, I guess. You get so much information and it's kind of all conflicting, but you really can sift through it and find the answers for yourself. For me, that led me to veganism and a plant-based lifestyle. For a lot of people, it does. It may or may not for you, but I just encourage you to go out there and find the answers for yourself. Advocate for yourselves. Right. Don't rely on other sources. And when you do that, you'll probably want to align your purchasing power with your values, because you'll take back that control over your life. And again, I say for me, that led me to a plant-based diet. So I wish I had that under my belt 10 years ago, which I didn't. So if you guys are having a bad day, and some people have been having a string of them during coronavirus times, is there anything that you say to yourself to get yourself back in a positive mindset?
I think just being super grateful. Yeah. I know that sounds maybe cliche, but I think recently we've been having this discussion as well, just sitting back and realizing that we're so privileged to be in the position that we're in, and to be able to, we are able to open our restaurant in a few months' time, and we are able to inspire the next generation, and we are able to, access amazing food and create that amazing food. And I think just taking that step back and realizing that, do you know what, we're in a really, really good position here, and we're so grateful to have each other and to have the people that we work with who inspire us every single day and keep us going with their amazing emails and positivity. And I think it's definitely something through these bad times that we've stepped back and thought, do you know what, we're just 100%. Grateful.
I mean, and the list goes on. Super supportive investors, some of which you've had on your show actually. I think for us, it's just looking around, and you realize, especially in times like this, how fragile everything is. It could so easily be very different. And I think we all really have to focus on what we're doing, focus on what's good. There's always going to be ups and downs. There's always going to be things that aren't quite working out, or that that you wish were different. But there's probably a whole lot of good things that you're not focusing on, that you should be focusing on. And I think it's, as you say, we actually have it on our wall in the living room, the word gratitude. And it's important for us. It's something that just that quick reminder of, before you leave the house every day, just to remember just how good we have it, really.
While some might say that it's not actually a business tip, I'm going to say that it really is. Of course, there's no runaround for not knowing your numbers, and there's no excuse, I'll say, or misunderstanding for not knowing your customers. But having that kind of mindset where you focus on all that you do have, it's kind of a life lesson, all that you do have, not what you don't have, really helps you shift your attention and your focus to making that which is working work better and larger and bigger. So I really think from a business perspective, this is equally as important as knowing those numbers. So it's a great recommendation that you have. I'll say that I'm grateful, since we're talking about grateful, that there's a solution out there to better health, better resources for the planet, saving money on healthcare, better for the animals, better for air pollution. I mean, the list goes on, and it's just one thing, and it involves eating, which happens to be my favorite thing. So yours too. So, just that we're talking about, oh my God, we have this horrible pandemic going on. Oh, but hold on, there are things we can do about it, and we can have a safer and secure future by a safer and secure food supply being plant-based foods. So, and I'm grateful for you guys for putting that out there. Let's see if I can get a picture again of, here we have it. So, I'm grateful that this is what vegan eating looks like. And thank you guys for bringing this to the table. It's so awesome. I will say that we have a comment here from Emma Clarkson, whom I love. She works so hard. She works at Vegconomist, and let's bring her back. We all love her. And that this interview that we're doing now live is going to go to Vegconomist magazine. So you'll find it very shortly there, vegconomist.com. Okay, my exit question for you is, you're running around. We know that if you have lots of time, you'll be sitting down in front of your own great burgers. But if you're running around and you don't have a lot of time, and I'm sure your days are quite busy, what is your favorite snack?
That's a great question. I know what yours is.
Do you?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Lentil chips.
Yes, I am addicted to these lentil chips. I don't know if you guys have them. They are unbelievable. I don't know the brand. I can't even remember. But they are like popped lentils, and they do different flavors like chive and herb, and honestly, thank you, whoever created those. I love them.
I'm still a chocolate. I still have a problem with chocolate. So I think that's for me. It's not really a snack. It's
What's your
pretty
favorite
bad advice.
vegan chocolate?
It's a brand called Omba. I think it's I'm pretty sure it's a British brand, but it's awesome. I mean, I can't tell you how good it is. And I loved chocolate before, and I really miss chocolate. But with that one now, I'm really happy.
He's happy he found the chocolate for him.
Phew. Okay, well, we can all rest assured. I'm so glad that the guy who brings us burgers now has his chocolate. So it's awesome.
Tips. That's what you should do.
So as we just head out here, first of all, I want to thank you guys for all that you do, all the hard work. We can all hear that here. You're working so incredibly hard to bring people such a sustainable and tasty business. We're also grateful for this. Can you leave us with I know you're opening a third restaurant, but when COVID comes and goes, hopefully, what are your plans for the future? What can we expect to see?
Okay, so we have so much happening. So we have our third restaurant in Brighton, which is going to be amazing. We're almost finished, and it's almost going to be open. So once COVID is gone, we can open that. Yeah. But we also have something very, very amazing coming to our website soon, and we will be launching our retail sauces. So our sauces from our restaurant will be, they're completely different from our restaurant ones, but we've developed a whole new range of sauces, and exclusively for you, Elysabeth, we are launching them on our website towards the end of this month. So keep your eyes on that. And they're very exciting.
again, this goes back to supporting your customers, because I keep seeing customers on your website saying, how can we get this one? I think it's a chili mayo sauce that they really like. So you've responded by selling a line of sauces.
It's been a whole year in the making. We've been working so hard on this, and it's something that we wanted to bring out back in January, but because the factory was suffering with the kind of the results of what's going on, obviously, we had to take a step back, and everything's just been a bit slower. So finally, at the end of this month, we'll be able to get people what they have been dying for us to give them. So it's a really exciting project for us. And again, it comes back to diversifying what you're doing. And it's been a big part of our plan as well.
Yeah, I was going to say your investors must be happy. You know, to see these kind of different revenue streams coming in, I'm sure you're making them very proud. Okay, well, the bottom line is that I have to get to London because I haven't had a Vurger Co burger. So I have to get to London. I have to try the sauces. I have to go to all 3 restaurants. I have to do all 3.
All of them.
Yes, I have to do all of them. And I'll say that on the Plant-Based Business Hour, I intend to kind of go around the world and take everybody to places so we can all eat and look at great pictures of food. So Prague is coming up. They're also a great city. Tel Aviv. I mean, no one's really London on the vegan scale, but there are some other great cities around the world that I'm going to hit. I want to thank you, Rachel, Hugh, and Neil Potts of the Vurger Co for all that you do, for spreading all this great information, for sharing your tips with entrepreneurs, and for being a guiding force and mentors really for other vegan businesses in the vegan capital of the world, London. It's the end of our show, but I thank you. Everybody go and follow them. So first of all, get your vegan burger packs. They look like this. So if you want to make vegan burgers at home, you can get them from the Vurger Co if you're in London, or I believe all of the UK. Is that right?
Yeah, the whole of the UK.
The whole of the UK. Oh my God, that's such an amazing endeavor. So the Vurger Co, burgers delivered right to you, which is so awesome. And then, of course, follow them on the Vurger Co at LinkedIn and Instagram, Facebook. You guys know what to do. And as for me, I'm Elysabeth Alfano. I hope that you will follow me as well. The Plant-Based Business Hour is every Tuesday and every Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And if you have any questions, you want to reach out to me. We talked about catering to our customers. If you have any feedback for me, just reach out to me at any of my socials, or of course, hit up my website, ElysabethAlfano.com. Neil and Rachel, I thank you both. I hope that you'll come back on the show.
Thank you so much. Definitely.
We're over. You two sit tight. Don't go anywhere. Everybody, I will see you not on Thursday because it's a holiday in the US for a long weekend, but I will be back tomorrow with Awesome Vegans at 1 o'clock, and next Tuesday and next Thursday, like always, with the Plant-Based Business Hour. See everyone tomorrow. Sit tight, you two. And thanks for all you do. Bye, everybody.
Bye.